Welcome. We're going to get started. Welcome to New Manager Bootcamp. Congratulations to all of you. If you are in new positions, if you've switched roles somewhere and you felt that this was a need for you in terms of this program, we just want to welcome you and say congratulations. This particular module of training is going to focus on change, leading yourself and others through change. And I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Liz McAuliffe, Director of Talent and Succession Planning. My team and I, we are responsible for identifying talent across the MTA and then working to plan how to develop the capabilities and the capacity of that talent so that they can help the MTA to fulfill goals and objectives and all the important things that need to get done to keep our operation going, right, on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so here we go. New Manager Bootcamp, your changing role. So before we get started, I would like to just ask you, you signed up for New Manager Bootcamp. You saw this particular program as part of it, leading yourself and others through change. What is it that you're looking to get out of this program? And if you could just put it in the chat box, that would be great. What do you want to get out of this particular module on change? Okay. Okay, so here they come. Develop management style now that I am in a management position with direct reports. Okay, and we will be talking about a management style, but very specific to change and implementing change and helping people navigate change to develop my management. Okay. Okay, so Caesar's replying to that with a thumbs up. How to better handle direct reports. Practical steps to successfully adapt to change. Okay, great. Yep. We'll talk a lot about change today in today's workshop. And we will talk about some practical strategies to use to help implement change, to help bring people along with you through that change. Okay, techniques, strategies to use, tools to use. But all organizations, although we are under the same umbrella, each organization is different. So yes, okay. Understanding of the environment, vis-a-vis human interrelationships with subordinates, peers, yep. New or different management strategies. Okay, so through the entire program, New Manager Bootcamp, you definitely will be picking up on some different management strategies. You'll be picking up on some ways to interact with others, direct reports as well as peers, and certainly, you know, human interactions will come up throughout each of the programs, but our focus once again here will be on change and managing that. Okay. All right. So thank you. Thank you for that. So then let me share, and if they still come in, that's okay. New or different management strategies. Great. All right. Let me share with you what our objectives for this workshop are. So here are the things that we'd like you to be able to do better, to feel more comfortable at when you walk out of here. But we'd like you to be able to explain your initial response to change. We'd like you to be cognizant of how you typically react to change, right? Because that's helpful to know. We'd like you to be able to differentiate between change and transition, as well as define the 3 stages of transition. We'd like you to be able to describe strategies that you can use and that your individual change participants, your employees, can use to foster resiliency. We'd like you to be able to recall critical roles needed to lead change, so we're certainly going to be going over them first, and to list the steps necessary for preparing a change strategy and for building support for that change. And then last, we're going to have you create an action plan to manage change and transition. Okay, so in a nutshell, you are going to be focusing on and hearing about what typically occurs during a change, how it impacts people during the change's subsequent transition, and how to take some strategies and use those to help you facilitate that change for both yourself as well as for your employees. All right, so that's where we're going. Is that a good thing? Want to give me some reaction, thumbs up, physically in your cameras or on your reactions button? Are we good to go? All right, thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Shelley. All right, I'll move us on. And Zacchaeus, thank you also. Okay, so here we go. We're going to focus on first part, preparing for the change. So let's talk a little bit about change. And this starts by saying change, the good, the bad, and the beauty. All right, let's talk about this for a little bit. Question for you, just in your chat, how would you define change in a word or two? What comes to mind for you when you think of change? You can just chat it in the box or you can call it out. Okay, so Aisha's saying something new, right? Change is something new. Shelley, thank you. Change is an opportunity. Zacchaeus is saying it's something different. Jonathan, there's an end and there's a beginning. Okay. Sweet is saying change is exciting. Peggy, expanding your comfort level. Yeah. All right. These are great. These are great. So this changes all of those things, right? Changes all of those things. Let me ask this. What kinds of changes take place on a day-to-day that people look forward to? What kind of change do people actually have fun with, look forward to, you know, kind of welcome? What are some changes that people welcome? So a new interaction. Yep, new interactions with new people, building new relationships, making progress on something. Could be a project, could be lots of different things. Learning new ideas or tasks. Okay, so those are the types of changes that we look forward to. Being confident in a new role, right? Yep, okay. What are some of the types of changes that people tend to not look forward to? What comes to mind for you there? Some of the things that don't really look forward to. A change in job function, some unknown aspect, new process, procedure, new directives, changes with which bring some hardship, new management, unfamiliar tasks. Okay, yeah. So, you know, there is a constant, right? There's a constant out there, or there's a saying, I should say, that change is the only constant in life, right? We can always depend on the fact that something is always going to change. Every time we get used to something, it seems that, you know, some change comes along, and somehow some people feel like it can be disruptive to what they're used to. So unfamiliar tasks, unfamiliar faces are the types of things that we don't always want to lean into so well, right? What is it about these changes? And you've said, some of you have kind of said it. What is it about change that makes it uncomfortable, that makes it scary, disruptive? What is it, do you think? What's behind it? Okay, change is inevitable. Yes, that is the saying. Change is inevitable. Zacchaeus is saying it's the unknown, right? It's the unknown that makes it uncomfortable. Shelley's agreeing with you. Zacchaeus is also indicating uncertainties. When you're not sure of something, you can be uncertain about things. There can be a lot of uncertainties. It's new, and sometimes people are used to past practice. The mindset is, if it's not broke, why fix it? Yeah. So that can be a mindset that some people carry with them, and when they do, it often makes it difficult to be able to accept change. So ability to adapt, yeah, that, you know, it's hard, and we sometimes fear, can we adapt? Will we be able to adapt? So it makes it a little bit difficult. Okay. We're all going through lots of changes now, right? What are some of the changes that you're experiencing now, either in the organization or even in the world today? What are some of the things that you are observing? So Peggy is saying the transformation. Yep, transformation is still happening, right? People are still shifting. People are still trying to figure out procedures, processes, So yeah, that is one change that we're experiencing. Parenting. Jonathan, if you're a new parent, congratulations. But yes, parenting can be a whole other, change experience. Hope it's going well. New environment, new expectations, new roles. Reorganization. Yep, reorganizations are happening too. College parenting. Okay, yes. Oh my goodness, and an empty nest. So, some people are just starting as parents. Some parents are having their children leave them. These are all transitions that we experience. So thank you for sharing them. Can anyone think of any positives that are coming out of any of these changes that you particularly are experiencing? What might be a positive that you could share with us from this change? All right, Aisha is sharing that attaining goals is one thing that's coming out of this. So with the change, you're able to attain your goals. Zacchaeus is saying that newer may be better. Yes, yes, absolutely. The new situation may bring about better things. Possible new possibilities in career advancement. Okay, absolutely. Pushing yourself to new, broadened horizons. Yeah, absolutely. And then Rena is saying growth. Aisha, new skills and tools, and Shelley, more opportunities to advance. All right, so great, thank you. With change can come some good stuff, right? And I think the one thing I'd like to mention is many of us have said, change can be disruptive, change can be uncertain, change can cause feelings of discomfort. But when we can only see change as a negative, that really can detract from us being able to accept change for ourselves as well as navigate other people through it. So when people can see change as more of a positive, it can really help them. All right. It can help you, and it can help you help your direct reports as well. So let me then just bring up some of the items that are on this slide, right? So definition of change: to cause to be different, something unfamiliar, everything that you all said before. Okay. But we also agree that change is not all bad, because you're saying that you've got some growth opportunities, some opportunities to meet new people, take on new skills, opportunities for advancement. So obviously change is not all bad. But we also talked about the fact that as human beings, we're comfortable with what we know, right? And sometimes when you throw a monkey wrench into something and change something up, it puts us in a place of discomfort, which is not always what we like to feel. The next piece is that we're going to talk a little bit about change and transition next, but it's really the transition that is hard, because it's the transitional time frame where we've got to kind of evolve ourselves through this zone of discomfort, an uncomfortable time, before we actually get to a place where we are comfortable again, right? So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it does take a little while. Okay, so this is why we call change the good, the bad, and the beauty, because not all change is bad, and out of some change can come some really beautiful things. All right, questions, comments about any of this? Anybody? And feel free to, unmute and speak up too. We certainly would love to hear your voices when you'd like to share anything. So, okay, I'll move us on then. So let's talk a little bit about change and transition, okay? Because there is a difference. Does anyone want to venture a guess as to what the difference is between change and transition? Anybody? Feel free to just unmute, say a few words. If I don't get anybody, then I will just...
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
I think change is more sudden and acute. It's short term, and then I would say transition is probably long term or seen through, longer period of time. I guess.
Okay.
If I had to guess.
Thank you. That's perfect, and that's exactly right. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Let me build the slides. Change is external to us, and it happens quickly, right? Let's just take the example of, let's say that you yourself have applied for a new position and you've gotten the new position, right? And it's a promotion. Okay, so that's a positive experience, right? the change is external. It happens quickly. It may mean that, today you are in the current role that you're in, and by next week you have a new title, a new boss, possibly a new team, and a new set of responsibilities. So by next week, you're going to be in that new role, right? So that can happen pretty quickly, and it's external to us. Transition, on the other hand, is internal, right? It's the psychological process that you go through as you experience the change that results in how you react toward it, in how you behave toward it. It's a much slower process. It can take some time. And for every person, it's going to be a different experience. Some people will get through the change and transition very quickly. Others might take longer time to transition. If the change tends to be a much bigger change, obviously it could take a little bit more time to get through the whole process. Okay, so let me ask you a question about change. If you were moving from one role to another, and it's a promotion, right? What are some of the feelings that you might be experiencing during this change? You know that you're going from your current role to a new position, a promotional position. So Aisha is saying she could be feeling anxiety. Sweeta, being able to deliver. So it could be that you're wondering, am I going to be able to deliver? Or you could be excited about the fact that you have to deliver something new and different. Peggy might be asking, what am I up against? Mina is experiencing some fear. Aisha might be afraid of not being accepted or not meeting her goals and expectations. Jonathan is saying it's a mixed feeling, right? Some excitement, some fear, excited, some lack of confidence, right, in going into a new role. So yes, once again, the change is going to happen quickly, but all of these feelings that you're talking about, that's a slower process. Getting through those is going to take a little bit more time. And then when you think about it, once you've actually made the change, it's that period of adjustment, right? That is the transition, that period of adjustment where you start to get used to your new boss, your new team. You start to find out what the expectations of you are. You start learning about the styles of your team members and who needs what, right? So that's the period of transition. So again, Zacchaeus is saying pressure to perform. I am at that period of adjustment now. Peggy, okay, good. So I'm glad we're talking about it. And Peggy, feel free to share with us anything you need to. If all of us together can be of help to you, we'd like to be. But let's look at some of the typical feelings, okay? Because you just expressed many of them. You talked about lack of confidence. You talked about excitement. You talked about fears, being scared. Fear again, anxiety. So you've kind of talked about all of these, many of these different things, right? And there's more. These are typical. Typical means that the majority of people tend to feel more of the fear, the resistance, the denial, the shock, the confusion, even the anger sometimes. But yes, excitement and other things, other positives are also feelings that come about. But for the most part, these are more typical. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about transition and the 3 stages of transition. So here we have 3 phases of transition, right? They're called endings, neutral zone, new beginnings. And Jonathan, I think up front when I asked, could you define change? I think it was you that said ending and beginning, right? Something ends, something new starts. Okay, so let's just focus on endings for a minute. Endings are characterized by a loss of something, right? Endings can produce some uncertainty, can produce some anxiety, can produce a fear of letting go what I knew in order to take on what I don't know. But the person who came up with the 3 phases of transition, oh gosh, his name just went right out of my head. William Bridges, I'm so sorry. William Bridges came up with this model, right? William Bridges was an author. He was a consultant. He worked with a lot of companies to help them through change. And what he basically said is that people have to accept that something is ending before they can kind of move on to the new. And so as managers of other people, you're going to have to come to terms first yourself with the fact that yes, something ended. It's over. It's, we're moving on now. But you have to come to that for yourself, and then you have to help people also be able to do that. All right. Question for you. I'm going to go back to the situation of you've just gotten your promotion and you're just moving into your new position. What might be some of the feelings of loss that you might be experiencing in that situation? Again, you can call them out or you can chat them, whatever's more comfortable for you.
What about loss of relationships that you built with your old coworkers?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big loss, right? That is a really big loss. Not working with them on a day-to-day basis. You might see them around, right? So you haven't lost them maybe forever, but yep. And Aisha is also saying loss of connections. So Shelley, to your point, she's agreeing with you. You're both saying the same thing. Yeah, it could be a good change, but the loss of connections could be great. What else might you feel you're losing? Go ahead.
Yes, I just left the New York City DEP, where I was chief of mechanical contracts.
Okay.
So my team were great. The engineers who worked with me. So leaving was kind of very emotional.
Yes.
So it was very hard. But I told them I came from transit, I'm returning home. So so coming back, my old colleagues, I spent 6 years at DEP. So I came back. So it wasn't like silent. So I say I'm returning home. So that kind of lessened the impact.
Yep. And I think the nice thing is realizing how many connections we do make.
Yes.
Right? Wherever we go, it may be hard to come into a new place, make those connections, but we do. And then we leave them and we move on. In your case, you're coming back to, you're coming back home, which is nice. So thank you for sharing that. Jonathan shared loss of previous projects. Yeah, you might have built a reputation on the projects that you worked on, right? And then all of a sudden you leave those behind. There could be a sense of loss to your identity, a sense of loss to your reputation, because now you're starting all over again. So those are additional feelings. Go ahead,
Right.
Jonathan.
And just to add to that also, like not being able to see what you started completed. Sometimes there's a satisfaction out of investing into a project, right? For me, I'm a designer, so I invest into the beginning of a project. Part of the pleasure is to be able to see it through and see the finished product, and not being able to see that, it's kind of like a sense of loss.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yep. All right. So there are many senses of loss, right? There are many things that we can feel we've lost. And again, starting over again, you could feel like you've lost a little bit of your self-confidence, right? Loss of knowing whom to go to for things. In your old place, you kind of knew who to go to, who to call upon. That was easy. You became good at that. And now you're kind of starting that over again. So yes, question for you. What can make it easier to let go of the past, either for yourself, and of course that then translates or transfers to your employees as well? What do you think makes it easier for people to be willing to kind of give up something in order to move forward? Any ideas?
Optimistic attitude on knowing
Okay.
you
Yep.
have expectation of yourself.
Okay. Yeah, Aisha, absolutely. So just, having kind of a positive outlook, right? That can help you, but it can also help your employees because you're a role model for them, right? They're looking to you through change, especially to you, because you're closest to them. And so that can certainly help. Let's see, Sweet is saying focusing on the new. Yep, just kind of let's focus on moving forward, letting go, be in the present. Thoughts being able to contribute at a greater extent. Yes. So these are all ways of helping yourself kind of let go and let your employees let go. But I'll give you one more that I'm not seeing here. And that is just when you have an understanding of why the change is happening. So some cases it's easy. I had to change jobs, not because I had to, but because I wanted to, right? So that's a good change. And you may not have to convince anyone else other than yourself, right? That it's a good thing. But when a change does happen, helping people understand why the change is happening. So why did the transformation happen? Trying to get some of that background to share with your employees is always a good thing. And then, you know, just the idea is that the more that you understand the reason for the change, the easier it is sometimes to then be able to let go and move forward. So that's just one more thing. And Shelley is saying, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Yes, as you're going through change, be patient with yourself, right? Be patient with your employees. It's a big deal. The bigger the change, the bigger the deal it can be. And everyone reacts so different to change, right? Everyone really does. Some people thrive on it. Other people really, really fear it. So, and if you've got, you know, more than 1 or 2 direct reports, you figure they're all going through a very different process. So be patient. And thank you, Shelley. That's a really good reminder. Let's talk a little bit about the neutral zone, okay? The neutral zone is kind of that somewhere between 2 nowheres is what they reference it as. But it's characterized, it's that time frame when you're kind of in between, you know, you've left the old, you're in the new, but you haven't quite figured everything out yet. And you're still trying to figure out, you know, your team and who needs what. You're trying to figure out what it is exactly that you're supposed to be doing. You're setting things up. So it's characterized as confusing, as well as producing a lot of anxiety because the past is gone, but the new isn't fully present yet. But what I want to say about the neutral zone is this. It's also a time frame where a lot of creativity can happen if you allow it. And what I mean by that is, you know, somebody said it in the chat. When you do move on to something new, it can be exciting because you're creating new processes, new procedures, or you're learning new ones. But in the neutral zone, you have an opportunity to create, start something fresh. If not all the processes or procedures are in place, you help to develop them. And what's even better is if you can pull your team in to help you develop them as well, get them involved in the change, that's another great way to help them be more accepting of it, be more willing to move forward with it. All right, so that's what the neutral zone is all about. Let's see, who said it before? I think it was, hold on, I'm looking for the name. Peggy. Peggy, I think you said you're in kind of in the middle right now. You're in a new process. Do you find yourself kind of in a neutral zone? Do you feel any of what we've just talked about?
Yes. So I've been in my position for a year, and I'm now in a transitional period that I'm feeling comfortable. And what I mean by that is initially, you know, how it is when you have direct reports, especially when you're dealing with a union employees, there are contracts and guidelines that you have to follow as you are, you know, as you're, you know, assisting and helping. The biggest change for me, I believe, in which now I have transitioned into becoming more comfortable, is coaching sessions that may include a statement as, if this happens again, I will have to write you up. Some type of, you know, the disciplinary action. And and that's where I see that I'm transitioning and becoming more comfortable. Whereas before it was like, oh my God, I gotta actually discipline somebody. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. And I'm sure you have resources out there to help you, kind of guide you.
Yes, I do. And you know, yes, yes, and especially, you know, I'm blessed from having the background that I do have, because when, you know, I was in HR, you know, as one of the TC secretaries, so I got all that knowledge. I was in labor relations for 2 years, so that actually really is helping me now in my current position, because I'm now able to teach new people who come in, hey, you need assistance with the contract, I can help you. Bid and bump, I can help you, because I know it.
Okay.
Right? I know it. So, but
Excellent.
that's the biggest transition, is the disciplinary action.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that you left your old position, you came into something new. You probably had some anxiety producing time, trying to figure your way out. But it sounds to me like you're
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
getting up there into new beginnings, which is
it's true. And what helps too is my supervisors, they're very good and they make it comfortable to have conversations with them. So I look up to them, as what's the word you want to call it? Like your I can't think of the word right now, but
mentors.
mentor, that's it.
Okay.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. So I look to
Excellent.
them as mentors. So, and I think that's what's making it easier to transition as
Okay.
well. And finding, and like I said before, finding my own management style. It's happening. I see it. I feel
Okay.
it.
Great. Thank you. And you know what? Keep all of that in mind, what you just said, and if everyone else does too, because we're going into an exercise in just like a minute, I believe, where I'm going to be asking you to think about those. All right. So new beginnings. That's the next phase, right? Once something has ended, you kind of move into it. It's confusing. It's crazy. Things are swirling around, but then you kind of start making sense of things. You start putting some practices into place and some protocols into place, and you kind of start feeling comfortable, and you're kind of moving into a place that's a lot more positive and hopeful even. All right. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to the chat to make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, we're good. All right. Any questions about these 3 phases of transition? Keep in mind, they happen again differently for everybody. It's not like lockstep. Everyone experiences it very differently and at, different pace, etc. Okay. So here's the exercise. In your package, I'm going to ask you to turn to page 5 in your package, and you have some space there to do this exercise. And what the exercise is asking you is, think of a past successful change that you've experienced. And I'm just going to use Peggy as an example. Peggy just talked about a change that she made that sounds as if it has been successful, right? And to just talk with each other about your particular situation. What was that change? And then to just go through the questions, how did you feel at the start of that change? What strategies did you use to manage through it? Okay, that's the really important one. What did you do to kind of get yourself through? Because obviously you all have. You've all been through some transitions, and you're here to talk about it, right? So you've gotten through it in some way. Anything that was positive that came out of it? What positive things came out of it? Which is very similar to the last bullet, how you felt about coming out the other side. So those last 2 bullets are really like one question in essence, but 3 questions. How did you feel at the beginning? What did you do for yourself to help you get through it? And then what came out of it at the end? All right. So let me just check in. Caesar, you are with us?
Yes, I am.
I see you now. Okay. Caesar's going to set up breakout rooms. And Caesar, I think we'll give it, and I'm just checking the time. I think we could give it like 15 minutes.
Okay.
For groups. And how many groups do you think we should have?
3 groups of 4 to 5 people.
Okay, so we're going to place you in 3 groups of 4 to 5 people. Couple of rules, please. When you get into your breakout groups, make sure that your audio is on, but also make sure that you turn your video on as long as your video is working. In the small group work, we would like you to see each other, have a conversation with each other. It's easier to share and build a connection with somebody if I can, see you, if you can see them. We're going to ask you also to pick a spokesperson to report out to the rest of us what you all came up with. And not everyone has to have a particular situation. But if you talk about 1 or 2 and kind of walk through it, and if everyone does have a situation, that's fine. I think you'll have enough time to talk it through. Okay.
All right. And then we'll be sharing also this screen so that you guys can see the questions inside.
Thank you.
And opening the rooms now.
Okay, make sure.
Oop. Elizabeth,
Caesar?
I always cut you off. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. But you know what? You have slide 9 up for them, but it should be
Oh.
slide 8.
Yeah, my
And
bad.
that's okay.
It
That's all
moved.
right. There we go. Okay. So
Okay.
now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back into the breakout rooms.
And let me make you co-host also, just so
Oh,
you have
good.
some abilities.
Yeah. All right. Go right ahead. Yes. Thank you.
Done.
All right. So let
Oh, we
me,
have somebody here. Simon,
let's see.
Yasmin. I'll move her.
Oh, you know what? Wait, remember she's both phone
Yeah.
number and,
So I wonder what this one is.
all right, but we don't want to move her out because there's only 2 people then in that room because I'm not in there with them.
What I'll do is I'll put her right, if the other name is there, I'll put her back in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So let me go visit the other rooms and see
Okay.
what we've got. Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Okay. Group 1 is doing really well. Going to join group 2. Yeah. Okay. So that was room 2 and room 3, Shelley and Rianne.
How many people there?
So there's only 2 people in room 3.
Oh, should I put them in the other one?
Well, what was her name? Ziasna? Looks like she's not
Yeah.
even here.
She is, oh, it probably knocked her out completely then.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
So she's not even in the main room with us? Did she get knocked
yeah,
out of a meeting?
yeah, she probably got locked out. If like one of the things moved, but not the other.
Uh-oh. What do we do? Is there anything that we can
She'll
do?
come back in. She'll just come back and then we'll move her there. But should I move the other 2 then to the other rooms?
I think that if we have another breakout, which I think we do, we're going to have to change. Yeah, we'll have to change some of this just so that it's more balanced,
Yeah.
right?
I think what it was accounting for was those people that were on the phone, and so it took that number as the, but not thinking that it was, 1 person for 2.
Gotcha. All right.
So should I move them or no?
Well, not now, because I think right now they're like in the midst of having a
Already, okay.
conversation. And
Okay.
so I'm just checking time. I think we started at 8.
We have 9 minutes, 9 minutes 45 seconds.
Okay. Okay, so 9 minutes are left.
Yeah, so at 9 at 10 exactly, actually.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because yeah, I thought we started at around 8:45. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know what? I'm gonna just
8:45. No, we started
no,
at
I'm sorry, 9:45. 9:45.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Breakout number 1. Okay. All right. So I'm
Okay.
gonna mute and I'm going to look at some email.
Sure.
All
All right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh man, I keep flipping it. Okay, we're good. Liz, we have a new person coming in now, and I'm not sure what to do. Should I let him in and then we talk him through whatever? I'm not sure.
Let's see, what time is it? 10
It's-
o'clock.
Yeah, it's an hour later.
Probably not, right? I mean,
I don't know.
class started at 9.
Yeah, and I mean, and then this activity now, like people
Yeah,
already, you know.
they've missed like the whole first section. Let them maybe come back at the next, I mean, I don't know what is there a
Protocol.
standard?
Right.
Sharon?
I know is that we only open the door like, you know, up to like half an hour up to a half an hour, and that's it really.
Okay, so then this person has really gone past that. They've
Yeah.
missed half the class.
Yeah.
Well, 9 to 10. We're going from 9 to 12?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad. What do you
they've
think?
missed,
Would you let them in or?
if you want to let them in, we can just talk with them now. We can fill them in and just keep them here with us until the exercise is over, because it's over in a few minutes anyway.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, you can.
All right. Hey, Sean? Hmm.
Let's see. I'm going to open my people participant. Oh, but it's just you and I
I
because
think he left.
I think so.
Yeah. He left.
Okay. All right.
All
Well,
right.
that takes care of that.
Yeah.
All right.
We have 3 minutes left.
Okay, so I do see that Ziasmin has come back.
Yeah.
Excellent. Ziasmin, you're with us now? Can you hear me okay? And probably you're still having some audio issues, perhaps. Yes. Okay, so you're here. All right, we're sorry that you somehow got kicked out of the meeting. Glad that you are back. And we'll just wait for everybody to come back into the main session to talk about the exercise, and we'll go from there, okay? And if you have anything to add, feel free.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so everybody's coming back?
In 30 seconds, yes.
30 seconds, okay. And Caesar, I will also just mention, I have a 12 o'clock meeting also. So I will try to really,
Big bumps.
end on time and yeah, just to get into that next meeting.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
All right, and the rooms will be closing now. Okay.
Okay. So welcome back, everyone. All right, hope you had enough time to do the exercise without it being too much time. For those of you who have your cameras on, thank you. Great to see your faces. All right, so you did the exercise. I am going to get us started right away. So in room 1, we had Jonathan and Kara, Mina, Sweta, and Zacchaeus. Who is our spokesperson to walk us through this exercise?
Who's the spokesperson?
Rena, would you like to be the spokesperson?
Not really. Not really. We all
wait.
have, ideas. Who wants to be?
I'm sorry, you know what? And you're in group 2, but we can go anywhere. We can start with group 2. We can start with group 1. Who would like to get us started?
I can get us started.
Jonathan.
Yeah, I believe I was in group 1. I'm sorry, you cut off a little bit. I'm not sure, but if you were asking who was the spokesperson for group 1, but
you may be the spokesperson for group 1.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I was the chosen
Okay.
spokesperson. So I guess the first question that we all had to respond to was, how did you feel at the start of the change? So we all had similar thoughts. Sweta said prioritize and build new relationships. So this was like her way of dealing with her feelings in the start of change. Was just she felt like oh no, I'm sorry, reading the wrong answers.
That's okay.
So at the start of changes, a lot of people just mentioned feeling anxious, excited, isolated, and just I mentioned myself personally feeling ready and motivated for the change.
Okay.
And then what was the strategies to manage us to getting through these feelings? Sweta mentioned she prioritized building relationships and disconnecting from other relationships. She felt that the disconnecting would make things, I guess, easier for her. Kara, she said just keeping positive thoughts. Zacchaeus said just he looked forward to making new friends. And
Whoops.
it's cutting off a little bit.
Okay, you're back.
I said for me, my strategy was basically just trying to find someone who's going through a similar phase and dealing with similar feelings and changes. That way I can feel like I have someone to vent to, and they can vent to me, and we can kind of just relay our feelings aside and understand each other.
Okay,
great. The next was what positive elements derived from it. So Sweta said new relationships, new friendships. She felt like she was able to adapt, and it helped her be a little more flexible. Kara mentioned open opportunities, and in a way, this was it provided her the ability to leave old negative relationships behind. She felt this was one of the pluses that came from this change. Sometimes we have negative cultures where we come from. So some people feel like a sigh of relief, when they're able to transition into a new place, a new area. Zacchaeus mentioned one of the positives for him was just acquiring new knowledge and skills and being able to find new solutions to whatever problems are coming up. And for me, financial compensation. One of the big pluses about being promoted to a new position is compensation. I don't think anybody mentioned it so far, and I don't even think I mentioned it in the group, but I wrote it down for myself. That is a big plus, being able to be compensated for the work that you're doing. And it just goes a long way in your personal life, right? Which is important to us and our families, right?
Absolutely.
So the last question was, how do you feel upon coming out? the other side. So Sweta says she felt accomplished. Kiara mentioned confident. Zakaya's mentioned he just felt great. And I mentioned I felt more stronger and capable. I don't know if I'm out the other side yet, but I have a feeling from other changes that I've been in, I feel like I'm going to be stronger and more capable and just more well-versed. So it's nice to have all these new tools in our bags. That's how we
Absolutely.
feel as a group. So
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. A lot of good stuff came out of there. And, you know, all of these things that you pick up, these strategies that people shared with each other, keep them in mind because, you know, change, again, as you all said, is a constant. There will be more change down the road, you know, smaller changes, bigger changes, whatever. But all of these strategies, if you can keep them in mind that have worked for people, are really good strategies that can help you also strengthen, right, your capacity for dealing with change as you go forward. So thank you for that. All right, how about group 2? And that's where we have Aisha and Joseph and Peggy and Rena. Who would like to be the
So
spokesperson?
we didn't know we needed to have a spokesperson.
Okay,
I think I facilitated and chatted a bit much in the breakout room session. So I'll definitely let Peggy or what's her name?
was it Rena?
Yeah, Rena, take the floor. Even though Rena kind of said she didn't want to just a minute ago, but I think she'll be great to take the floor. And Joseph was in our group as well, but I know his connection isn't working accordingly. So
All right.
I'll get one of my teammates to take this one on because I know they got it.
So Rena, if you would like to, please feel free. And then Peggy can always help you if you feel like there's more to be said.
I was expecting that. I wasn't.
You got
expecting
Oh,
this. Okay, we just go ahead, Peggy. Sorry. Excuse me 1 minute.
sure. All right. It seems like Rena may have somebody that needs something from her at the moment. Peggy, do you want to start and then we'll come back to her? Or
Yeah,
maybe-
someone came in. Yeah,
okay,
you can come back to me. You can come back to me, please. Just 1 minute.
okay. Would you like to start, Peggy? 1 or 2 items?
Okay, sure.
Okay, thanks.
I'm just
thanks.
going through a little cold, that's all.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we actually attacked Rena on this one, okay? So as far as what Rena was saying, she's new in her position for 6 months, in the admin, in an admin capacity, but now she's management. So for her, and Rena, correct me if I'm wrong, but for her, one of the changes is that because now she's managing people in which she was, you know, they're on the same, you know, like on the same
Same level, same friend.
on the same level. Now they have to report to her. So with that being said, that's a change because now if somebody does something crazy, before you and I used to be co-workers, now I'm the boss.
Exactly. Oh, you got it. You got it.
Different dynamic. Yep.
That's exactly how it is. It is. It was a different dynamic, but it was getting something used to, you know. But I'm actually every day is getting better, and they see me in my new role, you know. So it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be because I was anxious, like, okay, I'm going to be their boss. I'm going to act, and how they're going to, you know, react to me and discipline them or tell them what to do. But it's been an adjustment, but it's been going, and I'm
So,
actually
Rena,
happy. So
what do you think you've been doing that has helped you be successful, that's kind of gotten you to a better place, a place of feeling some happiness?
well, actually, we're a good team. We all did work together at one point. We worked well together. So now that I've been on their side, but now that I'm over, I know the work that they're currently doing. So I just try to help. I mean, I talk to them. They need to talk to me, but I don't know. They actually always see me in that role. even though I wasn't, because I've been here longer. But I don't know. It's been working for me. It's been working.
Okay, okay. So it seems, yeah, congratulations.
Granted, I do have issues. Yeah, I do have issues every now and then. But I mean, it's been working for me, so I'm happy with that.
Okay.
One of the tools that Raina did elaborate on is being able to control yourself. Also, Joseph mentioned that, just having that self-control allows you to sometimes be the master manipulator in your own environment, because people react to actions. So if, there's a conversation that's warranted, but it's uncomfortable, and, sometimes people react off of emotions, or they're upset, or they cry, or want to yell. The best tool that Rena mentioned is just controlling yourself in that situation, because then that allows you to keep that person under control, because the slightest reaction can give that person energy and fuel to then react back. And then it can become an ugly situation. So that's definitely one of the highlights that she brought onto the table that helped her navigate to the end result of accepting the position and becoming adaptable to the environment of her changing roles.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Aisha. All right. So self-control. So Rena, I have to applaud you. Self-control is not easy, right? But so you're being able to do that for your staff.
It really isn't. It really isn't. Yeah, it really isn't, because not only my staff is people, I deal with a lot of people, and people come sometimes with different attitudes, and when they come at you, they're yelling at you, but either way, I have to have self-control.
Okay.
So
those are your strategies.
Everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Self-control.
Yes,
I heard
there are strategies.
Helping others, which means you're making yourself available
Yes.
to others in order to help them. Okay. Caesar is giving you an award. Because that's not an easy thing to do. Not an easy thing to do.
It's not.
But excellent strategies. Keep putting them in place. Keep talking to your friends. I know Jonathan said before, this idea of finding other people who are going through similar changes as you, having kind of a peer, somebody that you can talk with, and could be a peer, could be somebody above you that mentors you. But again, all good strategies, right? And getting some help.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Wow, look at that.
Okay.
What resilience you've shown, right? All right. Let's go to group number 3. Here we had Rianne and Shelley. So which one of you would like to take the floor, so to speak?
I was nominated.
Okay.
So, let me go back to the question here. How did you feel? Well, we both had, we're both managers here for a little while, so it's not so much that, we're new managers, but we getting refreshers. Sometimes you need, little reminders or, new ideas. So, how did we feel, when we transitioned to become new managers? I mean, obviously you feel a little anxiety.
Oops. Shelley, did we lose you?
It's breaking up.
Yeah, I'm coming in and out for some reason.
All right, we hear you again now.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. So that was, that's how we felt, when it started to change.
Okay.
And then the strategies we talked about was, asking questions, getting to know our new coworkers, engaging with, our new, personnel or the new management team to get an understanding, of the policies and procedures, and just understanding the culture, because every department has a culture, right?
Yep.
You go from one, unit to another, there's different, protocols and practices that they have that's, slightly different from the other one where you left. So we understand, we have to, understand how, things go in that new department that we're working in. So we ask a lot of questions. That's the main thing. If you ask questions, you get to know people, right? Because people, will respond to questions a little bit better.
Okay.
The positive elements derived from it was getting to know, your new coworkers, understanding, you know, how the department functions or works. What was the other thing? I didn't write it all down.
The positive elements. So,
You know, more confidence.
okay.
And that was really it. I mean, we didn't talk about, you know, get into a lot of that, you know, a lot of detail, because some of it we
That's
had already
okay.
discussed. And then how did we feel coming out? We felt, you know, confident. We felt happier. You know, we had, you know, we felt proud because you achieved, you know, the goal of, you know, being promoted to the new management. You know, we were, you know, optimistic. You know, it was a new opportunity. So, you know, we felt good about it. You know,
Good.
because we did take the steps.
Okay, so we just,
Yeah, I don't know. It keeps coming in and out, so I'm just gonna say that.
all right. I think you did an excellent job. Thank you. So confidence, happy, optimism, feeling good, all and really good strategies, right? The asking questions, getting to know people, getting to know the operation. I mean, these are all strategies that work. And sometimes we do them without thinking about it, or sometimes we do them without really labeling or naming them. But it's good to be able to identify exactly what it is we're doing and label them, because then you know how to repeat them over and over again, right? To help. All right, so I just applaud all three groups. Thank you very much. A lot of good stuff. Okay, I'm going to close the breakout room box. I'm going to share my slides again and get this up. And let me go there and just get us moving. And then we'll take a break in about 10 minutes or so. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. All right. So in your books on the next page, let's see, I think it's on page, yeah, on page 6, for those of you that like to see it right in front of you, this slide, strategies for building resilience. So we're going to just go through a couple of additional strategies, and I think we'll see that many of the strategies you have used yourself are going to be on here. So let me just move you there and just give me 1 second. I apologize. I want to bring up the chat box just in case. If anyone hasn't looked in the chat lately, Caesar is applauding all groups 1, 2, and 3 for the work you did, because it was really excellent work. So thank you, Caesar, for doing that. Okay, strategies for building resilience. Take a look at these. There are 5 here. Is there anything here that anyone wants to take because it, you know, it's relevant to you, or you look at it and say, yep, this is something I know I do? I am just going to start, and I'm going to take one away. The one in the middle, when in doubt, ask questions. Shelley just gave a really excellent example of how asking questions when in doubt, when you don't know, is a great strategy, right? Because when you ask questions, you learn more information. What happens when you learn more information? Like, what's the trigger effect from that? What happens?
I guess I'll answer.
Thank you.
With that, you become more, I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? You see, my thing is, you know, I've always been told, if you're not asking questions, then something is wrong. How do you expect to expand your knowledge base? How do you expect to grow if you're not asking any questions? So I take the common sense approach, right? So with that being said, don't be afraid to ask questions. And because I have been in a situation where I was asking questions, and for whatever reason, it was taken as if I was incompetent. How am I incompetent if I'm asking the question, especially of my job functions? You're not teaching it to me, so I'm going to ask questions to somebody else. And I think sometimes sometimes when people are in that position, that when they start asking questions and they start getting shut down, they don't want to do anything else, because that's the impression. And I'm noticing that with my group now. And I tell them, listen, I get it, but you need to ask the questions because you're not doing the right thing. you know?
Okay, yep.
So with that, yeah, no, I'm a firm believer. You need
Okay.
to ask the questions.
Okay, good. So Peggy, it
I
sounds like
agree.
you are somebody, go ahead.
No, I agree. And to piggyback off of Peggy, and just because we come from the similar backgrounds, and the culture at every organization is definitely different. And I'm learning that where I'm at now. But asking questions can sometimes be almost apprehensible to certain people. You know, they don't want you to know their job functions, or they don't want to cross share information. So sometimes it's like it's like that little gap between, the bridge. You don't want to step in it, but you do want to get across to the other side, right? So you do still need to ask the question, because you need to at least know, what you're doing, or try to avoid making mistakes, even though they can happen either way. So it is important to ask those questions. Certain environments don't make you feel as comfortable to ask questions, but that's something that you have to kind of accept when you're taking on a new task or a new role. And at the end of the day, it's really just you making sure that you're creating comfortability in a position that you took on, and new tasks and new journey that you took on, because that's not going to be the only resistance you get. There's going to be many challenges, many obstacles, many other resistance, and you have to just be resilient throughout the process.
Okay, thank you. So asking questions is important. And Zacchaeus?
Yeah.
Please go right ahead.
Okay. When in 2016, when I moved to New York City Environmental Protection, I found the group, the mechanical engineering group I work with, is too quiet. They don't ask questions, so many things in there. They don't want to rock the boat. They just, many things they know it's not in good place. They don't want to talk. Everybody looks like they're timid. I don't work like that. So there was something about PPEs that are not complete. So engineers go to pollution plants without the correct PPE, and at the pollution plants, they are pathogens. They doing wastewater, you treating fecal matter, or the kind of thing. So I raised that with my section manager. Oh, he said it's not in the policy. Okay, so I said, how can we put it in the policy? Oh, I said that they don't want to do that. So I escalated it to division chief. That one called me and said maybe I should go to the union because they don't want to touch it. Say I should go to the union, my union, so maybe the union can put some fire, start something. So I said, that's strange. The next month, we got a new commissioner, deputy commissioner. So at the question and answer session, after she presented herself about a management style, what she expects us to do, it's a question and answer. So I raised my hand, I put this, and the woman said, yes, I'm on board. He said, it wasn't in the policy we put in it right now. In 2 weeks, they changed the policy, everything was matrix. Until he said, it's a right thing. You can't sit on something that was not done for 20 years. So I got it done. People are wondering, this guy just came last month. And this thing's been sitting here for 20 years. The engineers have been there 15, 16 years. They didn't do anything. I said, I don't operate like that. If it's not right, so somebody has to do it. And I'm happy I did it. So they sent me an email. Oh, you got to thank Zach for this. Everybody, about 300 employees got their PPE. So correct, really jackets.
You should feel really good about that.
So I always like to ask
Right.
questions. Yes.
And I think you're doing what the MT always tells us: when you see something, say something.
Say something.
Right?
Yes.
So that's what they're asking us to do the right things. That's exactly
Yes.
what you did. So thank you for doing that for the sake of many employees. But what last point I will make about asking questions, they are important to ask, and you can always position them. Sometimes letting people know why you're asking can help people if there's some suspicious in some way, or just kind of positioning it as you're trying to get information to help you make better decisions, or to you know, you're new in the role, you're new in the department, the area, you know, this type of information is going to be helpful. It's not going to work with everybody. Some people will still hold things tight to the vest and they won't share. But, you know, sometimes people who have an understanding of why you're asking might be a little bit more willing to open up. So, all right, let's move
Also,
on.
can I
Oh,
piggyback off of that
yes,
quick?
sure.
Just a quick story. So in my younger years at the railroad, so I used to go out into the field, and at this time there were a lot of older people. It was that transition in of retirements and people leaving. I remember this gentleman. He was one of the like senior guys, and I think he had some kind of, you know, a little defense to younger people who come into the organization, and you know, young people who come in with, you know, they call it this piece of paper, which is like your degree, you know, something you work for, but you know, they come in with this piece of paper and they think they know everything. So, you know, he doesn't want to share no information with nothing. But this guy, he may not have a piece of paper, but he has all the knowledge in his head, right? And he's about to walk out the door soon. And I made it my business to become his friend. And I just remember that, you know, when I went to him at first, it was, you know, a little shrug off the shoulder. And then after a while, it was like, you know, come on, please teach me this. And he was like really surprised because it's, you know, it's like, you know, the young people come in here and they, you know, they just think they know everything because they have this piece of paper. So I'm just not sharing nothing. And once he understood that, oh, I want to know what you know, it was like, okay. And I just knew everything after that, you know, but it was great because it made him still feel that, you know, you are still a part of the organization. You are a part of this team. So for him, he spilled all the beans to me, but it was because he felt like somebody actually appreciate and understood what he did. And before he walked out the door, I was able to get all the information I needed. I was just saying, asking questions is not so bad, even though sometimes it may be hard at first to, you know, come to someone and ask them certain questions because they may not want to share that information, or they may not be as easily acceptable to someone asking them certain questions. But, you know, it's, I mean, everybody's different, their styles are different, but I think making people feel respected and acknowledged and accepted is a very important part of that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Aisha. That's a great story. Caesar, your hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to say that it also has to do with like the office politics. You know, you have to know how to maneuver those relationships and people. So it's, yeah, exactly. It's tricky. So the way that you handled that was really well, and then you guys became really, really close. So you had no choice but to spill all the beans. So yeah, it's about maneuvering those relationships in the office.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Caesar. All right, I am going to just come back to the strategies. I'm going to move us on just a little quickly because I know you guys are probably in need of a break. But some of these strategies in terms of adopting a change-ready mindset, I'm going to accept this change. I know that, let's see, who was it that said something earlier? Forgive me, I'm just looking for names. Jonathan. Jonathan said that with his change, he kind of felt ready and was excited to go. So this change-ready mindset is something that we can adopt for ourselves, right? Kind of puts us in a different place. But when you can be accepting of it, it allows you to lead by example, right? It allows you to be that positive influence, that positive role model for your own employees. And it may take a little bit of getting there, right? But you got to keep at it. When in doubt, we did that. Develop a positive outlook for you and others around you. I think many of you said that is a strategy you took on to get through your changes. Remain calm and manage your stress. Those are very kind of tied together. Going back to something Rena said about self-control, right? That's not always an easy thing. So having self-control, remaining calm, managing your stress as you're going through the situation with other people, that can be big. But what are some things that you do to keep your self-control? What are some things you do to remain calm? Anybody? Some of these things are really simple. We learn them, we do them, we practice them.
Pray.
Okay, there's one. You say your silent prayers, and when you go home, maybe they're not so silent. Okay, but there's a strategy. What else? Zacchaeus?
I wanted to say.
Oh, Jonathan, I'm sorry. I thought it was Zacchaeus.
No, that's okay.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay. No, I think just thinking before you speak is important. Because if you just speak then, and you're not calm, you're just going to project the wrong ideas across, and it might come, even if it's the right ideas, it might come across the wrong way. So I guess just to remain calm and would be for me. I think I give it some thought as to what the issue is and internalize it, and then, verbalize it when I'm ready. So that way I don't project my restlessness or my stress on someone else.
Thank you. That is showing self-control. That is, sometimes it takes people a minute to just deep breathe, take a couple of breaths, right? Some people will count to 10. Some people will just pray in, like to themselves, dear Lord, please just give me the strength to get through this. And just doing that can sometimes make you feel a little less stressed, a little more calm, a little more in control. But to your point, it all comes down to what Jonathan said. Think before you speak. Whether it's take a pause, take a breath, whatever it means for you. It might even mean to say to somebody, you know what, I need to just stop the conversation for a moment. Please give me 5 minutes, I'll be back. Whatever it is for you. But to your point, we've all found ourselves, I can say I'm very guilty of having opened my mouth when I hadn't given it a lot of thought and put myself in a very bad place. And it's not good. And when you do that often, right, then you really can just destroy any credibility, any relationship. And so all the things that you've done to build something can really destroy them. Not just one time. I mean, if you do it one time, I think people can be forgiving, but we have to be very conscious that we're not making a habit of that. So thank you for that. I'll move us on to the next slide. A couple of other strategies for building resilience. Take initiative, meaning don't sit back and wait. Look at what you need to get done. Think about how you might need to do it, and then just do it. But don't let the change kind of paralyze you. Ask questions, get yourself moving, take some action. Also, take risks, and we don't mean not calculated risks, but certainly just thinking about what are the risks that could be involved, which ones are really impactful, maybe I need to stay away from, which ones are not going to really get me in trouble, but I need to move and do something. I remember my boss saying to me, progression over perfection. So like, don't get frozen because you don't know everything and try to make everything perfect. Instead, just think about how you can progress every day, right? Share your successes. Don't focus on all the things that aren't going right. Focus on what has gone right. And then share that with your team and thank them for that. Sometimes you make little bits of progress, maybe not as much as you want, but even those little bits, let people know about that. Be self-aware, just know what triggers you. Know what makes you crazy, what makes you, what gets under your skin. And when you know that and can identify it, you're going to be better able to manage it so that you can do, as Jonathan just said, step back, think before you speak, right? And find support in others. And this was brought out again. Jonathan, I'm going to say thank you again. You brought this out. Find support in others. Talk to other people. Peggy talked about people who serve as her mentors. Jonathan talked about people who might be like a buddy, a peer, similarly going through, some things and being able to talk about it. But there are always people out there for you to ask of, to get some help from in some way. So these are strategies to help you build your own resilience, and they will also allow you to kind of help your employees build theirs. Okay, this is just a summary of what we've done so far. The value of change management. Would anyone like to read this out loud?
Today's change management initiatives have become a business discipline, driving bottom line results through changes in systems and behaviors. Managing change has therefore become a critical skill, both for leadership and for workers in an organization.
Okay, thank you, Aisha. So this is why we need to have change management skills. All right, and for those of you that are in new management roles, you're saying you want to become better managers, kind of create your management style. this idea of being a change manager, so to speak, being somebody who can be resilient through change is going to be very helpful. All right. Last slide, and then we break. And this is a poll question, but I'm not going to bring it up as a poll. I'm just going to ask you to call it out. Which of the following is true? Change is a constant and will always occur. True or false? You can shake your head, you can raise your hand, you can give a thumbs. All right. Yes, it is. Change, including organizational change, can create fear and uncertainty. Yes or no? Yes, I see some head shaking. Okay. It's important to understand the rationale behind the change in order to support it. Okay, seeing some shakes in the head. That is true. Seeing change only as a negative hinders our capacity to manage ourselves and others through it. Okay, yep. And transition is the psychological process we go through to adjust to the change. Yes, all of these are true. These are all in your materials. If you want to mark them all as true, because they are. These are all things to keep in mind as we go through change. Okay, it is 10:35, 10:36, 10:50. Can we come back at 10:50? That gives you 14 minutes. That'll be good enough. Okay, so all you have to do is, mute yourselves. You can turn off your cameras. Don't leave the meeting because it'll just be easier to just come right back to it. Okay, so we'll see you at 10:50. All right, so I am going to get us to part 2 of our presentation. And go there. Before I start, does anyone have any questions at all about anything that we've been covering so far? Okay. All right, Joseph, thank you for the thumbs up. No? Okay. All right, I'm going to get us started then, and I will share the screen. Open my chat box just to make sure that I don't miss anything, and put this here. Okay, so we're going to move right into the second part. All right, thank you, Caesar. Your role in leading change. So I will ask you this: what do you see as your role in leading change? Now that we're talking about, we've talked a lot about you in part 1. Let's focus a little bit on you, but also having direct reports. If you think about going through a change process, let's just say a transformation, because we all have experienced that together in this organization. What would you want from your manager? What would you look to them for? What do you think then is your role in the change process? Anybody? You can call it out or chat it, either way.
Wait, can you repeat that question? I'm sorry.
That's okay, Aisha.
Maybe I didn't hear it in whole.
Okay.
Sorry.
What do you see as your role in the change process as managers of other people? What do you think you need to be focusing in on?
So I think in the change process, you're creating an image for others to look up to follow, to be able to have some direction on being that leader within your organization. So you're there for a purpose. And I think that's probably one of the most important things. You have to understand what your purpose is and what your goal is.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to lead your team, allow them to be a part of that movement as well. So taking their feedback, allowing them to present new ideas, new thoughts, and engage that into conversations.
Okay. So I heard a lot around direction, right? Creating an image for your group, like a direction. What are the goals? What's our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish? Thank you, Aisha. That's excellent. Peggy is saying transparency. All right. Sweeta is saying being open to ideas and listening. So these are all the things that are your role, so to speak, for your employees going through the change. And Mina put relationships. Yep, focusing in on the relationships. Absolutely. That's big, especially going through change. So thank you for that. So one of the things that I wanted to say is that people managers, those of you that are managing other people, you are critical to the change process, right? You're critical because of your relationship to the people who are going to be navigating the changes. You're closer to them. And so they're going to be looking to you. Your employers are going to be looking to you for the direction that Aisha talked about. They're going to be looking to you to be able to go to when they have questions. So that relationship building is going to be really, really key, right? And so for you to lead other people through, it's important that you understand kind of some of the critical skills that you need and critical roles that you need to play for your staff. So we're going to take a look at this next slide, which is also in your material on page number 8. So let me bring up this slide, okay? The slide is talking about the importance of people managers. And this is the results of some survey that was done or handed out, survey research that was done by a group called PROCE, which is a global team of change experts. They work with organizations around change and building change capabilities in their employees. What this really comes down to is this. This is what it's all saying, those two big blue boxes. Business leaders are the preferred senders of organizational messages. So when there's a change going on, like a transformation, right? As employees, we all look to get messages from the senior leadership about what's going on and why, et cetera, okay? But here's what is also being said. Employee supervisors are the preferred senders of personal impact messages. So when it comes down to my role and what's in it for me and how does this impact me, the person that I want to hear from is my manager, my supervisor. I'm kind of using those two terms interchangeably. That's what the research is saying. And the reason for that is because your own manager is closer to you in terms of your day-to-day. You're going to look to them for the direction, for the goals. What's our purpose? Again, what do we need to do differently? What do I need to do? How am I going to be assessed and evaluated in this new role with this new work, right? So the people that are most important to employees going through change are their own managers. And they will look to the organizational leaderships or organizational leaders when it comes to the broader messages. And that's really what this is referencing, which means that you play a critical role, right, in terms of helping your direct reports actually get through change. So we're going to talk about 5 critical roles in leading change, which is the next. Oops, you know what, Caesar, I see that somebody needs to be admitted. I just admitted somebody. I don't know if you saw that.
Sorry, I missed it.
That's okay. It just, kind of was popping up on my screen. So, all right, Jonathan is here, so that's good. All right, so that's really what this is saying, okay? And for Jonathan's sake, because I don't know if he missed this or not, what this is basically saying is that people managers are very important to employees in the process of change, okay? So the 5 critical roles in leading change are the communicator, the role of the communicator, the role of the liaison, the role of the advocate, the resistance manager, and the coach. And so now what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at page 9 in your materials, okay? And I am going to ask for volunteers to read what those roles are, all right? Because it's important to have a good understanding of each of these 5 roles. So can I get a volunteer? And when I don't get a volunteer, I'll read it myself, but could I get a volunteer? And maybe what I'll do is maybe ask some people that I have not yet heard from. So I'm going to go to Kara. Kara, does your audio work well? And would you be willing to read the first role of communicator on page 9? Let me know. Okay. How about Sweeta?
I can read.
Thank you.
Communicator. As a communicator, the people manager builds awareness of the need for change with their team. Employees want to receive messages about how a change will affect their work and team directly from the person they report to. An employee, supervisor, manager is the conduit for information about the organization, work being done, and change to that work as a result of change initiatives. Answer to the following questions are the best delivered by a person's immediate manager. What does this change mean to me? What's in it for me? Why should I get on board? Why are we doing this? Note, for change to be successful, people must desire to support and participate in the change. Simply building awareness does not generate desire. Showing everyone what is in it for them will produce a great starting point and help generate support.
Okay, Sweeta, thank you so much.
Yep.
All right, so that is the role of the communicator. And these are things we've, talked about earlier in terms of asking questions, finding out purpose, finding out the meaning behind change. As a communicator, that's probably the biggest and most critical role that you have, right? Keeping people informed, sharing what you know. Sometimes in a change initiative, you may not have the answers to everything. That's okay. But even just letting people know that you don't have answers to certain things, but we'll try to get them. And when you get them, we'll try to share them, is a way of helping to appease some of the anxiety that people may feel. Okay, so that's the role of the communicator. How about the role of the liaison? Who would like to take that one on? Anybody?
I'll read it.
Okay, thank you, Peggy.
No, Shelley.
Oh, Shelley, sorry. I should know your voice by now.
No worries. So I'm reading liaison, right?
Please, yes.
All right. As a liaison, people, managers help to sustain the change. They engage with and liaison between their employees and the next level up manager, providing information from that individual to their direct reports. Perhaps more importantly, they provide feedback from their employees to the next level up. Managers are in the best position to provide design input, usability results, and employee comments on aspects of the solution to the next level up. They are also positioned to identify functionality needs and concerns during the implementation phase of the change.
Okay, thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
yeah, you serve as a liaison. You're going to be talking to your employees. They're going to come to you when the change doesn't work. Let's say there's a new system in place, but the system's got glitches. They're going to come to you and tell you that, and you're going to be the one that has to bring that up to your manager so that things can get corrected, shifted around, fixed, whatever it is, right? So that's, and you're also going to be going back down to your employees to let them know of any status change, so we reported this glitch in the system. They're going to take care of it, coming back to let them know it's been fixed. Let's try it again, see how it works, etc. Right? So that's another important role of the leader. Okay, if we then turn to page 10, there are 3 more roles. There's the role of the advocate. Anybody want to take that one on? All right, I can take that one. The
I
role
can
of,
do.
okay, go
You
right
want me to
ahead.
do it? Okay. Advocate. As an advocate, people managers influence employees' desire to participate and support the change. Employees look to their immediate supervisors for direct communication, messages about a change, and to evaluate their level of support for the change effort. If a people manager only passively supports or even resists a change, their direct report will likely to do the same. This means that people managers need to demonstrate their support for change in active and observable ways. Once they are well equipped for the change, people managers can then effectively guide others through their individual change journeys.
Thank you, Sweeta. Yeah, so again, here we play the role of the role model, right? We have to role model for our employees. If we don't accept the changes, if we're kind of lukewarm about the change, why should they? be excited about it. So again, this kind of comes back to some of the things that we talked about before, our own self-control, our own mindsets, leaning toward more positivity in order to help other people do the same. Okay, we then have a resistance manager. So I want to make sure we read this one carefully because it's not exactly what it sounds like. Anybody want to take that one?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resistance manager. When fulfilling the role of resistance manager, people managers influence an employee's desire to participate and support the change. People managers must know what resistance looks like in order to understand and manage.
Okay, thank you, Zacchaeus. Let me ask you this. What are signs of resistance that you might see from your employees in the process of a change? Physically, what would you see, or maybe even hear?
They don't even want to be bothered.
They might be cool.
Oh, wait.
They don't even want to be bothered.
Well,
Yeah, I don't think we can hear the gentleman who's speaking, so
Okay,
I think he needs to fix his mic.
All right, Zacchaeus, thank you. If you put it closer, at one point it was pretty loud, but then it kind of failed. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I said, you may notice employees that are indifferent. They don't want to be bothered. They're just cool to whatever is going around. They're like oblivious.
Okay, thank you. So that kind of leads into what Peggy was saying. They may not care, so they become indifferent. What else might you then see or experience with people who are showing some form of resistance?
I think people question it. They question why are we changing? So I think it comes down to understanding the reasoning why, and just that transparency of giving them an understanding and a clarity of why we're transitioning to something new, or why we're changing the process to something new. Because there can be many different reasons. Maybe it's just something that makes the process better. It can be something of governmental reasons or new laws that are put into effect, like when Kronos came about. I know it was so much resistance when people had to use the fingerprinting and scanning their fingers. They thought the agency was stealing their identity and all kinds of stuff. So, but then, they were able to understand the reasoning behind it through things that were occurring throughout the organization as a whole. So once people understand that transparency is
okay.
Can I say something?
Okay, hold on.
Sorry.
Sweeta, you go first.
Okay, so finding fault, just critical, just finding fault, just the negative side of it, why we need to do, and just not being comfortable coming out of their comfort zone. We've been doing this way for a long time. Why do we need to change? And just finding the negative sides to it, not looking at the positive side, just looking at the negative sides of it.
Thank you, Sweeta. That is another way. Somebody, Zacchaeus, were you going to say something?
Yes. I remember many years ago, we were automating the processes of reporting train delays at the control center. It used to be dispatchers using pen and pencils to fill out forms about when the train arrives at the station, when it leaves, to compute whether the trains are delayed or not. So when we put out a program where they have to use the web to report those things, they were very resistant. There was a pushback because they didn't want to do it. They don't know how it's going to impact them, whether it's going to lead to layoffs, if they automate it, so they had the misgivings because of the unknown. So what does it lead to? Yeah, so they needed to be communicated to about it won't lead to negative content. That it's just to make sure we have quality reports that we have things that are reliable. It's about reliable records and quality reports. That was the goal.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Absolutely, all of these things. Resistance looks like many things: a lack of productivity, lateness in handing in work. It could even be lateness in coming into work. It could be absenteeism. All of these things might show up as resistance, right? Including the negativity, etc. So yes, as Aisha was saying, you want to play the role of the communicator. You want to play the role of the liaison, the advocate, giving them the why, the rationale behind it, the reasoning behind it, as well as making sure that you are observant to any resistance that you may be getting. And once you begin to see it, to have some conversation. And that leads to that last role, which I'll read out loud, is the role of the coach. People managers coach individual employees throughout the change, providing the necessary training, if that's what they need, information, the support needed to effectively adopt and use the change. So Shelley said it really well earlier on. She said, be patient with ourselves, be patient with ourselves, be patient with our employees. It doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable. We just also have to sit back and realize what they may be going through, what we might be able to do to be of more help to them. And then, at that point, when you feel like you've given them everything and they're still not performing well, that may be a different matter. Then we call Peggy Seals in to do some disciplinary action at that point. Because she's gotten so good at that now. But all right, thank you. Thank you for reading through these critical roles. And all of that information is there for you in your books to take back. Let's see, let me go into the next items have to do with 6 steps to successful change. And that is also in your material. And I'd like to just kind of go through that with you because that's important also. And that is on page number 11 of your participant material. Let me do this. Let me read through some of it because I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. But the 6 steps to successful change, right? Acknowledging and identifying the change, learning and understanding the need for it, determining what needs to be communicated and to whom, developing, implementing a plan, identifying a method to evaluate the progress of your plan, and then to celebrate successes. So let me just go through this. This is on page 11, all right? But if you want your change to be successful, these are the things that have to happen. So the first step in any change, acknowledging and understanding what the change is or what it requires. So that's the thing you need to do first as managers, right? Understanding reason behind it, why, where are we going, what are we going for, what are we striving for? Because once you've got that information, again, you can kind of put yourself in the mindset of, okay, so what is needed now to get it done? And how am I going to pull my employees in, right? And when you have that information, then you begin to share it. Second step, understand the need for change. So spend time understanding why the change needs to happen. Consider how these drivers of change are going to affect the organization. How are they going to affect your team? So if we're putting in a new system, a new process, what does that mean for the people that are working with me? How does it impact them directly? Okay. The third, communicate the need and then involve people in developing the change. So once you and those working with you have explored the situation, fully understand what needs to happen, you then need to communicate it. You might need to communicate it to your stakeholders, to your customers, whoever it is that's going to be impacted, right? The communicating to employees or stakeholders framework gives an approach to considering what is important to other people, what motivates them, how the change is going to impact them. If you rush the communication aspect of any change process, people's commitment will be weakened, and this can cause problems later down the line. Developing and implementing change plans. Once you've clearly communicated and developed a shared understanding of the change, you then need to detail what the plan is to actually get there, right? So the first aspect of developing a plan is to detail what needs to change and precisely what will be different. What are the objectives you want to achieve? What steps will you take to achieve them? What resources are going to be available to you and your team? What will the performance measures be? How will you measure performance going forward? And by when do you need to take these steps? So you understand everything, you're trying to figure out a plan. You've also then got to communicate the plan. Let's see. Make sure everyone knows what must happen. Make sure everyone knows what their role is. Provide the support. Watch out for stress. Watch out for resistance. Maintain some routine as far as is possible. Take a look at your team or individual change to understand how people react and how you can manage these reactions. So we've talked a lot about typical feelings around change, right? Now that you know them, how do you manage them? Number 5, evaluate progress through a couple of different things. Employee engagement. How much are employees actually implementing the change? How committed are they? How resistant are they, right? You'll be able to see that. Check their buy-in. Participation measures. Employee feedback. You know, what kind of feedback are you getting? Is it all the complaints, you know, the negatives that Sweta was referencing? Or are you starting to hear people come to you and say, hey, wow, you know what, this really works. Or you know what, this is actually better than the way we used to do it, right? So that's a way of gauging how things are going. Employee satisfaction survey results. It could be a formal, let me do a 3-question survey to my team or to my customers, or it could be, let me get them in a staff meeting and just get their feedback that way. Training participation. If in fact you have to train your employees on something new, right? What's their participation? Tests, effectiveness measures, usage and utilization reports. It just depends on what the change is, right? That any of those tools might be appropriate. The last one, celebrate success, no matter how large or small. As soon as you can start identifying what is going well, make sure people are thanked appropriately and that their hard work is acknowledged. So these are 6 steps to any kind of change process. They will help you to make sure the change is more successful. And a lot of it does make sense. You know, a lot of it is common sense. It's just making sure that we're really thinking through everything. What questions do you have about any of these 6 steps or any comments about them? Okay. May I ask how you might celebrate success? Are there some things you've done already with your teams that show, you know, a way of celebrating that you might share with this team?
I do have one in regards to number 4, develop
Yes.
and implement a change plan. Just keep in mind, not all plans you may put into place may work. So it's okay to revisit your plan and make changes and adjustments to it, especially once you understand your audience and those employees who are your subordinates. And just those who are also your peers, those who you have to work with as well that are in leadership roles as well. When you do have these plans, there's always room to change and make it better. So don't think once you create one plan, this is the end all be all, because with everything, of course, with change, there comes change to even how you create your plans or what kind of actions you use to implement it or put it into effect.
Okay, thank you for that, Aisha. So yes, a plan is just that, it's a plan, right? What are the benefits of having a plan? Anybody, what do you see as some of the benefits of having a plan that you and your employees can follow?
You're proactive.
Yep.
Which is something that, you know, we don't often see sometimes here. We're very reactive in situations. So when, you know, when you have a plan, it kind of prepares everyone, or tell, gets everybody in line to say, okay, this is coming down, you know, we're going to have to do this. And it gives them time to kind of digest what's going on, what the expectations are. And then once the plan starts, if you have to make changes, you can kind of pivot and go in another direction. To Aisha's point, I think, I'm sorry if I didn't say her name right. And then you can make that change and it's not so difficult. And and it minimizes actually the resistance too, because you're giving people the heads up. You're letting them know this change is coming. So wherever we could be proactive, it helps, you know, with, you know, when you have that plan, it's proactive.
Thank you, Shelley. Absolutely. A plan helps you be proactive and it helps people get some sense of direction and maybe even a little bit more control over the change itself. Go ahead. Somebody was going to say
yes,
something.
You gain confidence of the, you know, people you're working with. So they're confident that you have a plan and, you know, like, that you are, you know, you're serious about it. And, you know, you have thought ahead, like what could happen, what could go wrong. So you basically gain confidence of people you're working with.
Thank you. Absolutely. And then to Aisha's point is sometimes maybe the plan doesn't work or it doesn't work as well as you thought it might. But as you go through the process, because it's going to be new, if you're setting up something new and different, you're going to learn from it. And I think also that if your employees see that you're willing to kind of pivot, and I like that word, Shelley, pivot, because something needs to be adjusted, they may see that there's a level of flexibility as well that makes them feel more comfortable, you know, that not everything is so set in stone. Also, pulling people in, right? Getting their feedback is going to be important, because that will help you figure out what is working and what's not. And rather than having people kind of pushing up against something that's just not working and becoming frustrated, right? And then becoming resistant and just giving their hands up and saying, oh, what the heck? You know, I'm not going to bother even. You've got a plan, you try to put it into place, and you get feedback and you see what's working, and what might not be working, you then adjust. All right, so this is great. Thank you. So we're now going to move into an exercise, the next exercise. And I'm going to go through this carefully because I want to make sure that everybody, you know, gets it. I'm going to also be looking at your booklet that we handed out, because there's some things that you're going to want to look at there. So there are 3 scenarios, which I'll point you to in just a moment. But there are 3 different scenarios. We're going to have them, you read them as a group, and we'll assign one to each group. So Caesar, we're going to need 3 breakout groups. And you might just need to just kind of balance them out with the number of people.
Okay.
But you're going to read the scenarios. You're going to answer the questions to the 6 steps for successful change. So you see on page 13 of your material, you have the 6 steps right there. Okay. You're going to consider and identify how and where the 5 critical roles come into play, and what you will need to do to manage those roles effectively. So as you're looking at the scenario and figuring out what is it we need to do, how do I make sure that I answer these 6 questions for the 6 steps? What comes to mind in terms of my role as communicator, liaison, advocate, resistance manager, or coach? And figure out your change plan, build a change plan using the template provided on page 14. So on page 14, you've got a change plan that up at the top that says, you know, what's the goal? What are the steps I need to take to achieve the goal? What are the resources? What are my measures of success? What might my target dates be? Okay. And you can use that template. Also at the bottom is a second template. You can use it. It's your communication plan. What do you need to communicate to whom, how, by when? So let me just say this to you. Some people like templates, and so they're there for you. Other people don't like being constrained by a template, in which case I would say just take a sheet of paper and just, you know, do it as you see fit, as long as you're answering those 6 questions for the particular scenario that you have. Okay. Now on page, let's see, hold on. Where are the scenarios? They're not in your book. Okay, so let me just switch slides for a minute.
They're on page 12.
Thank you, Shelley. I know I saw them.
Yeah, 12.
I somehow I've missed the, oh, you know why? I've got my booklet mixed up with my slide pages. So forgive me. Okay, on page 12, thank you, Shelley, are the 3 scenarios. So the first scenario is taking the place, you have to take the place of your manager who's out sick. Second scenario has to do with, you've got a new payroll system that you need to implement. Scenario 3 has to do with a transformation, okay? So first of all, let me just ask, are there any questions about what you're doing? Because we'll have, Caesar, if you put up the breakouts, then I can assign the groups to each scenario. And
yeah, actually, I was just renaming them. If you have
okay,
you don't have a specific choice for each. Just
no. If you want to name them scenario 1, 2, and 3, that's okay by me.
okay.
All right.
I have a question.
Yes, by all means, go right ahead.
Just the communication plan.
Mm-hmm.
How do we relate that to the change plan? Are we doing, like, how do those 2 things relate? Are we doing it simultaneously, or are we doing the change plan first and then moving on to the communication plan? How do these, I'm just trying to understand how these things relate.
So I think that when you go through the change plan, you're doing it simultaneously. And the change plan template is just there if you want to use it. If you decide, no, I'd rather just include it into my action steps, it's okay. But you're really thinking about both simultaneously. So when you read the scenarios and you start to answer the questions, the 6 questions themselves, it will start to make more sense. I think it will start to make sense, but you can do it simultaneously and you don't have to have something in each box if you just want to do it all within your change plan. So I hope that helps you.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
will also share this, the screen with the 3 scenarios.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and how long are they getting?
Let's do 15 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll hear and pick a spokesperson. All right. All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Caesar.
Opening the rooms now.
All right. Don't forget to accept your rooms. Otherwise you get stuck back here with Caesar and I, and we're boring. So welcome back. And you know what, Caesar, I think we could probably stop sharing a screen and then we can just
Sure.
see everybody and we'll have a
Sure.
conversation for now. Let me get that back up. Okay. All right.
They're making their way back.
Great. All right. So everybody's coming back. Not everybody's quite here yet.
Mhm.
Was that enough time then, or was it too
Right.
much time? I'm curious. Anybody? You feel like you had enough time, or do you feel like you had too much time?
No, it was enough.
It was enough. Okay. Okay.
We were still brainstorming, but we got
More
it
than
down to the last second.
Thank you for your commitment. All right. So I'm going to say this. I have a hard stop at 12 because I also have a meeting at 12. So we're going to try and get through the rest of this. We're going to take scenario
Okay.
number 1. And what I would ask is whoever the spokesperson is for scenario 1, and that will either be Aisha, Joseph, Rianne, or Sweeta. Any one of you.
Yeah, it's gonna be me because my team
Okay.
did not want to volunteer. And I told
Okay.
them I was trying to pass the baton, but they weren't trying to hear me. So
All
we're
right.
gonna get
Well,
through this quick.
they have
You got it.
confidence in you, and
16
thank you. So if I could ask this for each of the people who are the spokespeople, if you could give just a really brief summary of your scenario. You don't have to go through the whole thing, but what's the brief summary, and then take us through your plan. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay. So our situation was that there was a new manager that came in over the past year and they became ill and they'll be out for the next 6 months. So in that time, you have 5 subordinates under you as the manager, and you have an upper leadership manager that will support you throughout the next 6 months as this manager is out ill. And you need to find a way to take on the responsibilities of your manager that's out ill, and also still support your team, and then be able to disseminate a little bit of your work on your team, because now you're fulfilling 2 roles, your own role and the manager that's out role. And this is for at least a 6-month period. Could be more, could be less, right? So a couple of things that we discussed is that first having that conversation with the 5 subordinates, and while having that conversation, also having that upper manager who states that they'll be there to support you throughout this process in the room, so that it's not presented as if you're just coming in to take charge and telling them what to do, but more of a understanding of what's happening, why the change is occurring, and what's expected of everybody, and in your role, which you'll be also taking on new duties, and you'll be probably disseminating some duties down to your subordinates as well. This
All right.
appears
So
to be the
Aisha, this
Uh-huh.
is what you're communicating, right? So you've told us what the change is and why. And so those are all the things that are going to be communicated. Okay.
Correct. Right. So then once we understand that, as a liaison, we have to understand that there is a change. We're engaged in it between upper management, yourself, and your team, so that everybody's on the same page and implementing what the next steps are going to be within that change. As advocate, We just want to keep that transparency clear, allowing the subordinates to know that you're still there to support them as this change occurs. And in my perspective, because they also have their own busy schedule and workloads, you may want to be a little bit more flexible on their schedule, or even if, depending on what type of position they're in, you offer them some overtime or even comp time to help with these workloads that's occurring through the 6-month period. And then for the resistant manager, you just want to continue to also support the change and participate in, you're doing your role as covering just not your task, but your upper manager, your manager's task, and allowing your people to understand, order of understanding and managing it. And then continuing coaching, getting feedback, coaching them, asking questions, getting that training if it's necessary for them and they need that extra support or understanding or clarity. And that's how we'll use that throughout that process.
Okay, all right. So thank you for that. That was a focus on the 5 critical roles, and appreciate that information. Any questions from anybody? Anything from
And then
that?
we'll celebrate the success when it's,
Okay, okay, and you'll celebrate the successes. Excellent. All right, so thank you. So applause to Aisha and team number 1. All right. All right, we'll move on to team number 2, Jonathan, Mina, Rena, and Zacchaeus. And who is our spokesperson here?
Yeah, I'll be the spokesperson.
Okay,
So just to give you a quick synopsis of scenario 2, we're the manager of a payroll department, and IT is kind of fed up with our system, our timekeeping system. So they're implementing a new version, which they feel is friendlier and safer to the company. So before the rollout happens on September 1st, that's the date given, we have to basically train ourselves or, be ready to implement it like throughout the company. So the goal that needs to happen is we definitely need to implement the system and prepare all of the employees, which is it's a 500 employee sized company. So it's a pretty big company. The first step that we have to do is we have to, prepare for this change in the system. And our action steps are training, obviously. So as a payroll department, I'm sure we're gonna have to train ourselves first internally and create like a schedule or some kind of system to train ourselves, and then eventually do the same thing for the rest of the 500 employees. So we'll do that by creating meetings within ourselves and put some procedures in place, and then also contract some IT people to help us out with understanding the technical side of this new program that we're going to be using, and create places or areas of where we're going to learn ourselves, or how we're going to train the rest of the 500 people, have some like the programs installed in the computer or whatever it is, and kind of just be able to implement it that way. Then the resources will rely on IT to get us those resources, provide us slides, computers that we need, or whatever other tools, provide us access. And someone on the team mentioned possibly start giving access or providing the 500 employees with pamphlets or things that could kind of make them aware of the changes that are going to happen before they get the actual training, just so they could come with something to the training already, just some kind of prior knowledge. And then what measures will we measure our success? What the criteria is going to be? I guess the number of people that we have trained, that we're able to train within that time span. And then I guess we'll also measure our success by how these trainings go, the feedback that we get from the employees, And then once the new program is implemented, we would also measure our success by how quickly we can troubleshoot issues that people have and how quickly we could resolve whatever issues, come about. And then our target dates for completion is September 1st. So we would obviously want to meet that date, at least be ready by September 1st for all employees. And if possible, try to be prepared even beforehand, just as a contingency, just to have that slack time, just in case we're not able to train everybody. At least we prepare our target date a little bit before the date that they gave us. So
Okay.
I think that's it. Unless I missed something, someone else from the group can chime in. I think that's everything.
Rena, you're muted. It
Yes.
looks,
I was just saying that was pretty much everything. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Zacchaeus?
Oh, yes, that's about everything. And don't forget there are logistics to take care of. We don't control all the resources. We may need training areas or rooms that we have to communicate with schedulers, and we need to let the department heads, we have to carry them along with, because there's going to be some little disruption in the normal work routines. So we need to let these people know.
Okay, so maybe an additional, little bit more communication out to stakeholders about impact that it could have, right? Taking people away
Yes.
maybe from their work areas to get training, whatever it might
Yes.
be. But
Yes.
excellent. This was excellently well done, or excellently done. And the only thing I would say was left out is don't forget that at the end of it all, that you somehow celebrate, right? Let people know, wow, you worked your, what's off to get this done. And here's how we celebrate. So
We'll have a
thank
pizza
you.
party for
There
everybody.
you go. Jonathan, thank you. Thank you, team number 2. Excellent job. All right. And Mina is giving a thumbs up. So thank you, Mina. All right, we have one more scenario to go. Scenario number 3. Let's see, that would be Kara, Peggy, Shelley, and Yasmin. Is Yasmin? Who would
Yes.
like to take that one?
I got it, but I'm gonna be quick because I see we only have a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Shelley.
All right, so we use the change plan. So the goal was to transform 3 employees from one group to another. Direct report as part of the major transformation to simplify a department, or it simplified the organization. So we had to develop a plan for major transformation, which included moving 3 direct reports to a new role within 3 months. So the steps that we would take is, draft obviously an action plan, identify, who would be impacted by it, what departments or groups, schedule meetings so that we can communicate, what the transformation is about, inform everybody that it's happening, and just identify who's affected by it, the steps that we're going to take to do it, even create a delegation, the delegation possibilities. Resources we would use would be, obviously executives who would communicate, this transformation happening. The liaison would be the managers or manager involved with this transformation. HR possibly, because they would have to identify or communicate to the employees that the transformation is happening, they're getting roles, and the department heads. And then how we measure the success is, buy-in, see if the employees, are okay, checking with them periodically throughout the transition process to make sure, that they have the tools that they need, or identify any problems that need to be addressed, hear their concerns, maybe identify some things that we're not seeing as managers, during that transformation. And then the target date for completion would be the end of the 3 months, because we only have 3 months to do it. And then how we evaluate it, like I said, is just, checking in with them, feedback. And then celebrating success, we would have a party, have a meeting, celebrate, let's have a party, tell everybody great job, thank you very much, All the above.
Okay. Thank you. I want to be invited to that party. It sounds like a good one.
I'll
All
keep
right.
you on the list. I'll
All
make
right,
sure.
thank you.
You're welcome.
So great job, everyone. And let me just say, when it comes to change, when you think about those 6 critical roles, when you think about just answering those questions for yourself, right? And then being able to answer those questions for your employees, for your stakeholders, it's going to set you up for success. It's going to help you structure the change in a way that allows for better results, right? So use the template as you see fit. The template itself may not fit, but the questions themselves and the roles themselves to be considering as you're going through any changes is really important. And then always thinking about the communication plan for even every step of your action plan. If I have 3 actions I need to take, for each action, who do I need to communicate with? Who do I need to make sure knows about whatever it is we're planning to do? Because in some way it's going to impact them. And this will, certainly help. You guys have been a great group. I will just, let's see, I think if you look at your material and just kind of go through the last couple of pages on page 14, sorry, on page 15, you'll just see a note there that talks about, keeping the lines of communication open, this idea about just being always available to your team for questions, for concerns, available to them to reassure them, making sure they've got the resources they need, the tools they need to get the jobs done. Also, there's one there that says, be aware of rumors. Just make sure you're cognizant of, any rumors that may be swirling around so that you can kind of come in and kind of put a halt to them and be very careful about, as a manager, not getting kind of in the rumors yourself, right? Because when people don't have all the information, they will tend to make stuff up, right? If they're missing things, they'll make it up themselves. It's just, we do this as human beings. So just beware of that. The other thing you'll see on the bottom of page 15 and 16 are just review questions. If you want to review for yourself, you can go through them. All of the answers will be in the material if you're not sure that it's in your memory so well. And then you'll see that last quote about the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new, right? Because as you all said, there's a lot of new and exciting opportunity to change that you may not see it right up front because it's too scary. It's too unfamiliar and uncertain. But very often through change, we come up with better ways. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I appreciate your time and your comments and your insights. And I know that Caesar has an evaluation for you. So Caesar, I'll let you speak to that.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming and joining us. The evaluation, I'm going to be sending it out to your email as soon as the class is over so that I don't take up your time here. But thank you, everybody, for coming, and see you in the next few sessions that you guys have with us. And have a great day, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Caesar. Take
Thank
care,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Caesar. Thank
Have
you,
a good
Elizabeth.
one. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank
Good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks.